Good morning and welcome to this morning's live. Do let me know if you can see me in the chat box. Do let me know if you can see me and where you're joining from this morning. Do let me know if you can see me and where you're joining from this morning. Thank you for joining this morning's live stream. When should aerospace companies invest in marketing? So before we get into the thick of today's topic, a little bit about what we'll be covering today. So you will learn about the right stage to invest in marketing, the marketing approaches that are most suitable for each stage. Perfect. Thank you, William. 10 signs in that your aerospace companies need marketing and 3 simple steps to energize your marketing efforts. But before we get into all of that, because there is a lot that I want to share with you today, I wanted to first give you a little bit of background as to why I am doing this live. Thank you, Lydia. I see that. I'm glad you can see and hear me okay. So a couple of weeks ago, I put a poll out on LinkedIn, and those of you that are connected to me may have seen it. And in that post, I asked the question, when should aerospace companies invest in marketing? And what that demonstrated to me, the results demonstrated that actually there was not a uniformed idea of when it was the right time. You know, you'll see, and I'm not going to tell you the results right away, but you will see that there was disparities on when aerospace companies believe is the right time to invest in marketing. And so that really spurred me on to really have a conversation about it and talk to you about when is the right time to invest in marketing and what should that look like. So for those of you that don't already know me, my name is Katrina Douglas. I am the founder of a company called The Launch Strategist, and my sole purpose is to help organizations in aviation and aerospace improve their marketing effectiveness and commercial capability so they can launch to that next level of growth. I've been a marketer for 17 years. I've managed marketing teams of all sizes during that time. I've run my own business since 2016. Something happened in 2021, though. I got contacted by Cranfield University, and many of you that are in aviation and aerospace will know how significant Cranfield is in matters of aviation. And the Scale Up program was for business owners who wanted to scale up in aviation. And for the first time in my 17-year career, I felt passionate about a sector. I felt that the impact that I could make, the work that I do, was sufficiently suited enough, and I was passionate enough about the sector to drill down completely. So what I did is in 2022, I did that program. Off the back of that, I spent all last year really researching the sector and really understanding if the work that I do was a good fit for it. Early this year, in January 2023, I cut off all other sectors and said all my work will be focused on this sector because I think it's a phenomenal industry. But in the area of marketing and commercial capability, there is much work for us to do. But that is enough about me. Let's get into today's agenda. Before I start, I want to let you all know, thank you, first of all. Over 100 of you signed up for this LinkedIn Live, and thank you very much for that. Those of you that are joining live and those of you that will be catching the replay. I like to keep these interactive, so although I have much to share with you, I also want you to feel free to put your comments, any questions in the chat box. We will have a live Q&A as well. So if you have any burning questions, any feedback, any thoughts, please put them in the comments. I am watching the comments and I will respond to each and every one of your questions. So first of all, tell me, I'm interested, for those of you listening, what stage do you think is the right stage to invest in marketing? What stage do you personally think is the right stage to invest in marketing? I'm interested in your thoughts. Do let me know in the chat. Do let me know in the chat when you think the best time is to invest in marketing. While you are putting your thoughts in the chat box, I'll just give you 10 seconds to do that. For those of you that do want to share your thoughts. Do put them in the chat box. But I'll tell you what the rest of LinkedIn thought. And let me make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. So 55% said startup stage, 25% said growth stage, and 20% said established stage. Now, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but what I will say is that I actually disagree. And it was kind of a trick question because actually, I think that companies should invest in marketing at every stage, and I'm going to tell you why. Now, the sole purpose of marketing is the sole purpose of marketing is to increase revenue, is to increase commercial capability, is to increase the number of clients that you have, is to increase your reach, and then to increase the business continuity of your business. And so it's absolutely every stage. There is never a stage that you should not invest in marketing. And you are absolutely right, Rita. You are one step ahead of me. It absolutely depends on the goal. I 100% agree with you. But let's go back a little bit, because I think that there is confusion on what marketing actually is. There is confusion on what marketing is, which is why sometimes people say you should only invest in marketing at, say, the startup stage or once you're established. But when you understand that marketing is about communicating the right message to the right people in the right place at the right time in order to increase revenue and growth, you realize that there is never a time where it is not a good idea to invest in marketing. There's never a good time not to invest in marketing. What the differences are, and before I get to that, I'm gonna tell you what the differences are. But before I tell you that, I wanted to highlight this quote from Peter Drucker. Are any of you familiar with Peter Drucker, the godfather of management consulting? And he says this about marketing, about business: because the purpose of business is to create a customer, the business enterprise has two and only two basic functions: marketing and innovation. Marketing and innovation produce results, all the rest are costs. Marketing is a distinguishing, unique function of the business. Now, I have some thoughts around that, because we all know that there are other elements of the business that are important. We're talking about aviation and aerospace. So arguably, the most important thing is safety. The most important thing is the engineering capability, without a doubt. But what he is saying here is that if you don't focus on marketing and innovation, it doesn't matter how good your technological capability is, you are not going to be able to drive that business forward, because fundamentally that business needs customers. And the key to that is marketing and innovation. So back to what I was saying. The only difference there is fundamentally, there's three things. So one is the goal. That changes depending on the level of business where you are in your business journey. The second thing is budget. So there are different levels of budget that are applicable at different stages. And the third is the type of marketing that you do. So the third is your marketing tactics, right? And so the question then becomes not when in the business journey should you invest in marketing, but what should our marketing look like at this stage of growth? What should our marketing look like at this stage of growth? So, for example, when you are starting out, and welcome, I see we have people here from London, Herefordshire, and Uganda. So we have a spread of people. Welcome to those of you coming in. So what changes is your goal and how you go about achieving that goal. So, for example, when you're starting up, we have a lot of eVTOL startups at the minute. We have a lot of startups in space as we commercialize that area as well. And what the focus at this stage of your business should be about product market fit. So actually, where is the best positioning for your business and what you do in the marketplace? What is the competitive landscape? What should your messaging be? Where are you going to have the most impact? So you're investing in things like market research. When you're clear on that positioning, you're investing in branding and positioning so that you have a unique identity. Like that quote says, it's about establishing that unique identity that differentiates you from everyone in the marketplace. If we look at the sector, you know, for example, when I was at Farnborough Air Show last year, there were a ton of component manufacturers. I'm at that point, I'm really new to the nuances of the sector. So you have all these tier twos and tier three component manufacturers. And to someone looking in, to someone that would be going there looking, unless you're familiar with these companies, there is no differentiation in terms of messaging, really, in terms of why they're different. On the surface, many of them look the same. But for those of you that are familiar with the sector, you know that there are some very clear differences. But clearly, you can see that there is no differentiation. And why this is important, because even if you are an established aerospace company, as new entrants come into that market, you need to convey why that 30-year history that you've had in the sector makes you different. You need to convey why your expertise on certification is valid. You need to be able to demonstrate those things. And so when you can't, if people are confused, they don't buy. And that's in any sector. If they don't know why you stand out, why they should buy from you, they don't buy. And so ideally at the startup stage, that should be done. But we see that often that isn't done, but it should be done there. And even if it isn't, it's something that's a goal you should have. Okay, so at the startup stage, and you can see the effects that has on the longevity and the profit of a business and the revenue of a business when that work isn't done. When you may say, actually, we don't need to invest anything on marketing. We'll just, you know, focus on the tech, focus on the engineering, focus on these components that we're manufacturing. But when you don't do that work, it affects your ability to sell what you do, and it affects your ability to get clients. And I know that the industry is built on relationships and networks and all of those things. But in order to build a sustainable business, there needs to be more. There needs to be a more robust marketing and lead generation process than the people that you know in the industry. And, you know, maybe I'll meet them and have a conversation. And so, for example, that's what you should do at the startup stage. As you become more established, you want to increase that brand awareness, and then customer acquisition becomes a goal of yours. And so at that point, you could be thinking of things such as case studies, not just written case studies on your website, but video case studies, you know, live interviews with clients, for example, because you want to be establishing credibility. At the beginning, you know, when you may not have clients, for example, I know many of you have been in the industry for a long time, so that may not apply, but you want to be increasing brand awareness and customer acquisition. And even this week, I was speaking to a company in the sector, and they were saying, we've been established for years. You know, we have branches in 3 countries. We are not new to this, and we have an excellent reputation in that. But we are just not well known enough. People don't know. And you have to ask yourself, if more people knew about what you did, even if you're doing okay, how much more profitable could your business be? How much more scalable could your business be? Are you over reliant on 1 or 2 clients or government projects? And it's about safeguarding your business. It's about not ever being overly reliant on one type of customer or a handful of clients. And that's what marketing is all about. So for example, during the growth stage, that might be the goal. During the established stage, your goal might be an exit, for example. You may want to sell. I know acquisitions and mergers happen a lot in the sector. That might become your goal. And so it might be necessary to appeal to a different type of stakeholder. At this point, similar to the beginning, you might be wanting to appeal to investors. You might want to be diversify into different products and services. And so you see that at every stage, marketing is important. It's just that your goal changes, and also budget. So at the beginning, I understand budget may be tight, but there are things that you can do. For example, establishing product market fit doesn't have to be expensive. It just takes time and resource to be able to do it. Business development and networking doesn't have to be expensive, but when you network, it has to be with a goal in mind. Simple things like having a customer relationship management system where you put, when you go to networking events, you're documenting details, conversations, and so safeguarding your business so that those relationships don't just lie within one person. Should that person leave, you can go to your customer relationship management system. You can see what contacts they had, what conversations they had, where they are in the journey. You can even get customer relationship management systems for free. And a lot of these platforms also don't charge you until you have a certain amount of people in the system. And as you're an industry that doesn't have thousands and thousands of clients, you tend to have fewer high value clients. You don't need a CRM system that needs to handle millions of contacts, for example. But these are basic marketing things that don't have to be expensive, but can really improve the commercial capability and marketing effectiveness of your organization. And so that gives you an example of the different types of marketing that you can do. So in terms of budget, yes, when you're established, you can spend more when, and you have more budget. So your budget doesn't, just because you have low budget or budget is limited, doesn't mean you shouldn't do marketing. You absolutely should at every stage. And actually, I saw an article just yesterday evening about Vertical Aerospace, and that one of their test flights crashed. And the article was saying that they were silent on the matter. Now, in a space like eVTOL, where there is a lot of skepticism, people are still unsure, to see a crash is quite alarming. Those in the sector, I saw some of the engineers commenting that actually it's not that detrimental, and this is the point of a test flight. They are absolutely right. No one was hurt. That's why they do these unmanned tests. But my issue with that was not necessarily the fact that it crashed because it's a test flight, it's part of the process perhaps. It's the lack of communication. And what that told me is that they needed a stronger PR and communications team, because although it may not have derailed them, it has eroded public trust. And if they continue to be silent on the matter, it will be an issue. And so that is an issue where perhaps they are so focused on the technology and the actual plane itself, which they absolutely should be, that the neglect perhaps in the marketing and comms area could hamper their progress in that area and public trust and faith. And so that's a very recent example where, it may have not seemed feasible to invest in marketing at this stage. It may have seemed just fine to, present the highlights and present the great work which they are doing. And, me saying this isn't taking away from the progress that they are making. But what I will say is that marketing and communication is not just communicating a highlight reel. Marketing is not just about smoke and mirrors. Marketing is about communicating the right things at the right times. And sometimes great marketing is actually saying, this did not go well, but this is what we're doing about it. And, involving the community and letting them know that actually you can be trusted and this is why, and demonstrating your organizational values at that point. And so, I say that to say marketing isn't just about the kind of high level fluffy stuff, just the highlight reel, just showcasing all the great things that you do. It's about relationships. It's about building relationships with those key holders so that they trust and know you enough to buy from you, to refer you, to recommend you. That's what essentially marketing is about. If you do have any questions, don't forget you can always put them in the chat box. Let me know any feedback you have, and I will be sure to respond to you. So I wanted to share 10 indicators in your business that may be telling you that your aerospace company needs watering in terms of marketing. 10 things, okay? So the first thing is that you may notice that the average lifetime value of your customers is decreasing. Either they are not staying as long or they are spending less, okay? And this is why, again, marketing from the beginning is important, because an area of marketing is measurement. Whether you're an industry this is an industry that is very familiar with measurement, but it often isn't applied to marketing, and maybe because there isn't knowledge on how. But measuring marketing effectiveness is very crucial so that you understand things like what is the average value of a client, how long they stay with you, how often you communicate with them. And so you may not know specifically, well, hopefully you do, and you can see it in some, there is a way for you to measure that in your business. But sometimes there is a sense, you know your business well enough, you know your client base well enough, you have enough experience in the industry to know actually our clients aren't spending as much with us. They're not coming back as often, and we haven't heard them in a while. And so if you sense or you know that the lifetime value of your clients is diminishing, that's a sign that you need to invest in marketing. The other factor may be that it's taking you longer to acquire a customer. Maybe at the beginning, you go to Paris' show, have a few conversations. Yes, the buying cycle might be long, but it was shorter than it is now. It was easier then than it is now. If you sense that there is a friction, that your message isn't resonating as much, you haven't acquired new customers in a long time, then again, that's a sign that you may need to invest in marketing. Another big one is that you receive very few inbound inquiries. And so sometimes this could be overlooked because you have enough business. Your existing clients are loyal. Your average lifetime value isn't diminishing. Your current clients are pretty stable. And so when that happens, when your business appears stable, it's very easy to lose sight of longevity, and actually those new clients come into the business, because you can be a point in your business where you're doing so well that actually that seems almost redundant. You can't imagine a time where the clients that you have won't be your clients. But one of my the key value of my business is legacy. And so a key tagline that we use is launching legacy. And so we're not just about short-term tactical campaigns. We're about laying a strong strategic foundation that means that your business can stand the test of time and weather changes in the market, whether market changes and fluxes and increases in competition. That is one of our goals. And so when we are looking at a strategic plan for a company, we're always looking at one of our core processes is our lead generation process. And so we're looking at, do you have a method to acquire new customers? So if you are not receiving inquiries either via phone, inbound inquiries via website, email, any channel, that is a sign that something needs to be done. And before I move on from here, it's worth saying that when we look at marketing, we have a framework here at the Launch Strategist, and it's called the 6P Launch Framework. Because although marketing is often seen as promotion and advertising, which I'm hoping now you see that it's a lot more than that, it permeates every area of the business. And in order to have a sustainable and effective marketing strategy, you need to look at all areas of the business. And so we have a framework called the 6Ps. And what we do is we look at purpose, which is about product market fit, which is about your go-to-market strategy, which is about your messaging and positioning, and where the best fit is for your organization. We then look at your products and your services and your portfolio mix. What is your pricing? What adjustments need to be made there? We look at people, whether you have the right resource and team, and actually what you need in terms of human resource to get to that next level. Only then do we look at promotion. Only then do we look at promotion. And then our 5th P is processes. And like I said, it's about the core processes that we look at are lead generation, onboarding, and service delivery. Because unless marketing can easily become smoke and mirrors, but what you don't want to do is market something that isn't what it is. Fundamentally, your service and your offering has to be strong. And so you have to understand all of those things. And so I say that to say lead generation and having a process for that and a consistent funnel of business into your company is very, very important. And so if you're not seeing that, it's a huge red flag and a sign that you need to invest in marketing. Another one is that you've invested in a website, for example, or you've invested at the Farnborough Air Show, or you've invested at Paris, and you've seen a limited return on investment. Now, we know that sales cycles can be long, and so we need to see an immediate return on investment. We also know that relationships are fluid, they're not straight lines. But if you're going to invest in marketing, you need to know where the return is coming from, because none of us well, no matter what stage of business that you are at, has money to waste on activity that doesn't bear results. And so you need to make sure that these things are having a return. And so if you've built a website and you spent a significant amount on the website and that website is doing nothing, you're seeing no real return from it, it just looks pretty good. And maybe you have some information about has some information about your company on it, but it's not really delivering a trackable return of any kind, then that's a sign as well. And I know that people say, I've heard people say, well, in our industry, people don't buy from websites. Absolutely. People are never going to buy from websites in aviation and aerospace. But actually, it should support the buying process. It should be a lead generation tool. It should have an objective. It should be adding value to your business in some way. It should be working for your business. And welcome, Ron Scott. I see you there joining us from California. And so, if you're seeing that, if you're investing in marketing and it just feels like a leaky tap and you cannot see a return on it, that's a sign that actually you need to look at that. And instead of investing more in those things, invest in having a strategy. And yes, a plug here, speak to someone like myself who can actually point you in the right direction. And again, people like myself, we do offer complimentary initial consultations. So just having guidance from someone that is experienced doesn't actually have to cost you for that initial conversation. Many of us, and I know that one thing that I love about the sector is the generosity that exists in it. Since the day I decided to come into this sector, I've reached out to so many of you, and everyone that I've reached out to personally has been gracious with their time in terms of having conversations with me. And so that culture of reciprocity does exist. And so if you ask myself or even others in the industry that are experienced, oftentimes we're not going to charge you for that initial conversation to point you in the right direction. Another sign is that, your team attends events, and I've said this is linked to the previous point, but you cannot track a tangible return on that investment. And so you're going and you're having good conversations and you're meeting up with friends and it all sounds positive. But actually, what is the return on that? Are you tracking how much you're actually spending and how much that's costing the business and the benefits that the business is getting from that? And like I said, there's so much about marketing that is below the surface. And one of those things is measurement and tracking KPIs. So your sales cycle is unpredictable. So that's the other thing. Your sales cycle is unpredictable. You don't know when you're getting that next client. It just depends, and hopefully the clients that you have are enough to keep your business going until you get the next one. But actually, you cannot tell when you're getting that next client. And so a little bit more about great marketing and why strategy is important, because when you start out with marketing, you have a hypothesis. You have an idea of what will work. So you might say, okay, we think the best place for our position to position our company is, to supply a certain set of tier one companies with a component. And so you launch a marketing campaign, or you communicate certain messages about your business. You begin to research with that messaging. You may have a website, you may attend an event, you may host an event, you may set out with an initial idea, but that is always a hypothesis. No matter what you do out the gate, marketing is a hypothesis. The most experienced among us know that there aren't shortcuts and there isn't cookie cutter marketing programs that I could say to you, if you bolt this, if you do exactly that, it's going to work for you. That's not how an industry like yours works. That's not how marketing works, period. And so what you're always doing is you're setting out a hypothesis. and you're testing things to find out what works. You're testing things to find out what works. And then you're iterating and making changes until you find the marketing blueprint that works for your business. The idea, after a period of time, after you have tested a series of marketing tactics, a series of marketing initiatives, you will know that if you do a certain activity for a certain amount of time and plug in a certain amount of money, you will get a return for that. That's the goal of strategic marketing. You don't get there out of the gate and you don't get there immediately, but that is the goal of marketing. And I say that to say, great marketing strategy, a solid marketing strategy gives you a degree of predictability in that you're never going to be able to say definitely that you will have a new client every 3 months, or that client is going to be exactly X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z attributes, but you will have a marketing strategy that you know brings consistent leads into your business. And if you're seeking investment, if you're seeking to grow, if you're seeking to scale, over time, that degree of predictability is important. If you are a founder, or if there's a leader in your business that wants to exit the business, it's important that you have a marketing framework in your business that can drive revenue to your business independent of any individual. We know that people are the principal things, but it's really important that you have a commercial engine that can drive revenue for your business that isn't overly dependent on any one individual or handful of individuals. And when investors invest in businesses, when companies are looking to sell their businesses, these are the things that they are looking for, because they want to know that if they invest or they sell or they buy your business, that when a key person leaves, that business is not going to fall apart because of that. And when you have a solid marketing strategy and when you have a solid marketing engine, that helps ensure that. So another indicator that you may need to invest more in marketing is that you may have lost clients to competitors recently. One of the things that I see often on Aerospace websites is that we have been in existence for 30, 20, 10 years. We are moving into a space and time that is no longer enough. And many of you will know that the landscape that exists post-COVID is very, very different to what existed pre-COVID. We know that access to space is becoming more accessible. We know that technology is progressing fast. And so those competitive advantages that you had 30, 10, or even 5 years ago are fast eroding. And so although there will always be very high barriers to entry in the aerospace sector because of the nature of the business, because of the level of capability that is required, because those barriers will always be high. But it is becoming increasingly competitive. And so it is possible for clients to move away from you more readily than it used to be in the past, simply because there are more emerging options. So if you are noticing that actually the landscape is less secure for you, you're seeing more competitors come into the market and your business is being affected by that, it's a sign that it's time to invest in marketing. Another indicator might be that you have products and services in your portfolio that most of your clients don't know about. Now, this is quite common. Another metric that is very important for you to look at is the average spend of a client across their lifetime with you. So ideally, it's always easier to market to your existing client base. And this is why in your marketing strategy, it's important to have a strategy that is just for your existing clients as well as new clients. Okay. And so you may notice that actually you have a number of things or number of services or products that will be good for existing clients, but they are not buying them simply because probably they don't know about them. I've always also seen instances where you have a company has a client, a very valuable client who they have a great relationship with, but that client purchases something that they can provide from a competitor. Why? Because they didn't know you did it. And so existing communication is very important. Internal communications is very important so that your team know when to mention certain things to your clients. So that internal education to your employees is important, as well as marketing to your existing client base. So before the world even sees your brand or even sees your communication, fundamentally, you should have a program of marketing and communication for your existing base, because those are the most valuable elements. They are the most valuable people in your business, arguably your existing team, your people, and your clients. So marketing investment should actually be going towards maintaining those relationships as well as acquiring new business. So your marketing should have a dual approach as well. So your customers have purchased products, and again, I've just said this, from companies that you should have provided. So I've given you 10 things there, 10 indicators, and I'm just going to run through them very quickly again for those of you that are taking notes. So the first one is that the average lifetime value of your customer is decreasing. The second one is that it's taking you longer to acquire new customers. The third one is that you are not receiving any inbound leads or very few inbound inquiries. The fourth one is that you've invested in a website or another form of marketing, but you are not seeing any direct return. And yep, I could speak about this for a while, but that's the fourth point. Your team at 5 is your team attends events such as Farnborough Air Show and Paris Air Show, but you are not seeing the trackable, tangible results on that. You suspect that things are happening and that it's worthwhile for you to attend, but there is no measurement, and you can't actually say off the back of that activity, we received this return. Your business has been, number 6 is your business has been established for a long time, but you still don't show up in Google results. If I were to search you online, there was nothing on the internet about you, whether that be a press release, whether that be a piece of content, whether that be other than your website, there is nothing. Or even if I do search what you do in Google, your website may not even come up. So that's another sign. Number 7 is your sales cycle is unpredictable. Your sales cycle is unpredictable. You have absolutely no idea when you're going to get the next client. That's a sign that you need to invest in more, invest more in marketing. If you're seeing cycles of feast and famine, it should be something you should be paying attention to. Number 9, you have products and services in your portfolio that most of your clients do not know more about. That's either telling you that you need to review your portfolio, or it's telling you you need better marketing comms. Number 10, that your customers have purchased products and services from other companies that you could have provided for them, simply because they probably did not know. And so I'm a person that I don't just like to present problems, I like to present solutions as well. And hopefully so far in this morning's live, you have gotten some solutions. But 3 things that you should do to improve your marketing effectiveness. 3 things that you should do. 1, assess your marketing in your company. Just assess it. And I've got 3 questions for you to ask. The first question is, based on today and some of the things shared, how important do you think marketing is to your organization? How important do you think marketing is to your organization? That's the first question. Okay, and hopefully that the content in this live has given you some insights into how important it should be. But every organization is different, and you are best placed. Many of you are leaders, directors, CEOs, managing directors, very, very experienced in your organization. You will have a sense of how important marketing is and how important it should be. Okay, and I would say rate that on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being, I've heard what you said and I really don't think it's that important. And 5 being, you know what, I think it's really, really important and we need to do more sooner rather than later. The second thing is start with what you know. You may not be marketing experts, but whenever I speak to leaders in the space, they'll always say to me something like, Katrina, we know that our website needs work, or, we should be doing more on LinkedIn, or, I know that we don't have the brand awareness that we need. typically speaking, your experience means that you have an inclination of at least where you should start, even if you don't have the strategy. And so I would say, do something about it. Do one thing about it. And I'm a strategist, and so I always like to start with a plan. And I also think that strategy should be simple and a plan should be simple. So do something about it. And that one thing might be you call someone like myself and you just have a conversation. It might be that you speak to your business development person and you say, okay, what are we doing in relation to these things? It might be that you get on the phone to that person that built your website and say, how can we make this website a lead generator? What can we do to enhance this website? But do something. Having heard this, if anything resonates with you, do something about that. I think I'm going to give you a really easy option right now, and feel free to take me up on this or not. But it is there for you. I leave a few spaces in my calendar every week just to have conversations with companies like yourselves. And you can book a session with me. I've put that link in the chat as well, so you can see that. So those are the 3 steps. I'll say, Kevin, let me look at your question. So my challenge is that shareholders don't believe in marketing. I see that so often. How they must know there is an issue, as they have brought me on. They have brought me on board. Okay, and so I see this so often. Even just this week, I was on a call for a new potential launch, and there were thoughts that actually, no, we don't want to invest in marketing. And I think it's because sometimes there is a lack of understanding, and you need to build, what needs to be built is a business case. And so that board needs to see numbers. They need to see tangibly, what is the impact of not investing? So if you can bring data of any kind that demonstrates the decline, or you can see that they can see that there's challenges, but if you're able to present a solution, and that's something we can potentially talk about, Kevin, and say, okay, these are the problems. You've told me what the problems are. Yes, we can do some of the things that you're maybe thinking about, but this is how an investment in marketing can help. And why I work with strategies, because you need to give decision makers tangibles as to, if I invest this, what can I expect on the other end of it? And I'll give you an example. So from my own business, I've tried many things, but many of you, the thing is, a lot of times leaders say that they don't believe in marketing, but yet they attend events and they've made decisions because of marketing, but they didn't realize it was marketing, because great marketing doesn't feel like marketing. Great marketing doesn't feel like marketing. And so it's about demonstrating the value of that and saying, like I said, I spoke about a lead generation pipeline. So for example, I've been building relationships in aerospace for a very long time, and well, not a very long time, since last year. Over time, I've been sharing content. Off the back of that content, I decided to do the live. Over 100 of you signed up for this live, and hopefully I'll have conversations with a number of you off the back of it. If you were to then present to the board that actually, if we were doing more on, say, a platform like LinkedIn, we could have more conversations at a lower cost that would give us a better return. If we had a CRM system, we could see where the leaks are. And so it's about building a case that is going to resonate with them. I hope that answers your question, and I hope that makes sense, because it's something that I come across all the time. And it's also, you have to say, okay, if you don't invest in marketing, what is the cost of that? What is the cost of that? And so it's about presenting tangibles. So Kevin, help me, let me know if that helped or provided any insights into that. But it's a very good point, and I see the challenge all the time. And it's really troubling to watch, because oftentimes I know how the story ends. And oftentimes clients come to me when they've actually exhausted all other avenues. And I just think, if you just came to me earlier, yes, we can do work, but if you just invested in a little bit earlier. And also another thing, Kevin, you could do a test campaign. You could say, okay, I understand that you don't want to invest a huge amount, but let's just ring fence a small amount of budget and see what we can do and the difference that it can make. Bring someone in like me that can maybe present some scenarios to them and some tangibles to them. So that's just a few points. That's just a few points. Okay, perfect. That is great, Kevin. That's great. If any of you have any more questions, do feel free to chime in. Do feel free to chime in. And so, Kevin, if you want to book a 15-minute chat, 15 to half an hour chat with me to talk through some specifics, it's absolutely free. Feel free to do that. Can you all see? I'm going to put that on the screen. And so that is the link to book a consultation with me. If you do want to book a consultation, do get in there quickly because I only have a few slots a week ring fenced. So yeah, go ahead and do that. The other thing I wanted to tell you about is if you wanted to do some training or a member of your team, you found value in this and you want to take it a little bit further, then I do have a 90-minute training and live session, which actually does come with a downloadable supporting document as well. It's called the Introduction to Marketing for Aviation and Aerospace. And that is actually a paid training. It's 120 plus VAT. But again, for those of you that are attending, there is a 10% offer on that. So if you did want some training, again, didn't want to spend necessarily a huge amount of money, but wanted to know a little bit more and go a little bit further into some tangible strategies and things that you can actually implement in your specific business, then that training is going to be good for you as well. So you should be able to copy and paste that from the chat box. That is taking place on the 28th of September. For that, you will get a recording as well of that training. Again, a downloadable PDF with that. So if you really feel like you know what you need to understand more, you need some specific strategies that you can apply to your business, and do go ahead and do that. I encourage you, if anything has resonated with you on this live and you think it can add value to your business, I really, really do encourage you to, at the very least, book a consultation with me. I'm happy to help and happy to have a conversation with you. So do we have any questions? Do we have any further questions? What I'm going to do, I really don't want to miss anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up another screen and pop over to LinkedIn to make sure that I haven't missed any of your comments. Thank you all for joining live. We had quite a few countries in the house today. So let's see. No, I don't see any more questions. I don't think I've missed anything. So thank you all for joining. I hope to speak to some of you again soon. Feel free to direct message me with any questions that you have that you perhaps didn't want to post in the chat. I'm always happy to help. I'm incredibly passionate about the sector. Although I think there is much work for us to do in the area of marketing, I think, the fact that I've completely streamlined my business and niched entirely to serving the industry should tell you how much passion I have for it. And I just want to help and I want to move the industry forward. I think in many ways we've come out of the worst of times, and I know that there's issues that the industry is facing, such as skills shortages, and we're seeing the rise of eVTOL and so much change. I recently read, or I'm in the process of reading, the second part of the action plan for the UK space strategy. So yeah, and there's an incredible things that are happening in the sector that I'm very, very excited about. But it's time for the commercial capability and marketing effectiveness to match the engineering talent. I think if we can do that as a sector, get that commercial capability up to where the engineering talent is, the future will be incredibly bright. And so thank you for joining. Your time is very much appreciated. I hope you found this valuable. And like I said, I hope to speak to some of you further. And do look out for more content on my page. Follow the Launch Strategist on LinkedIn if you're not already. Connect with me on LinkedIn if you're not already. We also have a YouTube channel. If you search at the Launch Strategist, which is a load of free content about marketing for the aerospace sector. Has a wealth of content there. I post videos, new videos most weeks as well. And I will be doing another live probably in September as well. So do look out for that. Have an amazing day wherever you are in the world, and don't hesitate to reach out. I hope to speak to you soon, and have a phenomenal weekend. Bye-bye.